When you feel like life has dealt you a hand of unfair cards, instead of voting, you double down and you stuck in the game. You faced battles, you felt broken, but hey, do us a favor, put your hand on your heart. You feel that? You're still here. Welcome to the Resilience Files Unlocked, where survival meets transformation. Welcome back to the Resilience Files Unlocked. I'm your host, Carrie Vernunz. We are so excited to share this episode with you today. This space was created for honest conversations about survival, reinvention, healing, and the quiet strength it takes to keep going when life doesn't look like what you imagined. Today's special guest, Constanza, is a young leader from Cancun, Mexico, whose life changed at 9 years old when she went into a diabetic episode and she was hospitalized in intensive care. I'm going to let Constanza tell her story. Like we do here always on the Resilience Files podcast, we share our guest essay with you. Constanza wanted to read it herself. She is young and doing it. Constanza, without further ado, you take us away.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity for sharing such a special event of my life in such a special place.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, without no further delay, I will start. I was 9 years and 9 months old when my life changed forever. In June 2022, I became very sick. At the same time, I had COVID and my breathing became fast and difficult. Everyone thought it was a complication from the virus. What we didn't know was that my body was shutting down in a deeper way. When we arrived at the emergency room, I was already slipping in and out of consciousness. I remember feeling very far away, very tired, and at one point, I remember seeing a light at the end of a tunnel. I don't know how long I was there, but I know that the doctors acted fast. A pediatrician recognized what was really happening. I was expecting the onset of type 1 diabetes, and I was already in a diabetic ketoacidosis. That moment saved my life. I spent 5 days in intensive care and many more days hospitalized, not only recovering, but learning how to survive in a body that now depended on insulin to stay alive. With type 1 diabetes, insulin is not optional. Without it, you cannot live. Managing it correctly is complex, demanding, and constant. In many ways, it means holding life gently in your hands every single day. When I left the hospital, I was already wearing a continuous glucose sensor. Later, I started using an insulin pump. These technologies changed my life, but access to them has not been easy. We have been able to afford them treatment and technology because my family has a private medical insurance. Without it, many of these tools will be out of reach. Even today, some supplies we need are difficult to get in Mexico, and sometimes we must buy them outside the country because the local options fail too often. Learning to live with type 1 diabetes did not happen overnight. I learned through experience, education, and community. I have attended several diabetes camps for children with type 1, where I learned how to count carbohydrates, how to adjust insulin doses, how to inject myself, how to measure my blood glucose, how to eat, how to listen to my body, and how to take responsibility for my health. These camps taught me that I am not alone and that knowledge is power. I have always practiced sports, and diabetes did not stop me. Today, I practice figure skating, karate, and tennis. I hold a brown belt in karate and participated in the Quintana Roo state competitions in 2026. Even thought I didn't advance to the next stage, it was my first time competing at that level, and I was proud of myself for showing up. Beyond sports, I discovered that my voice matters. In 2025, I was selected as a child deputy for a day to represent Cancun. During my speech, I spoke about the importance of eliminating VAT on diabetes supplies because access to treatment should not be a privilege. I also serve as an executive secretary on the CIPINA Advisory Council in Benito Juarez, Cancun. CIPINA is a council dedicated to protecting the rights of children and adolescents. In November, I spoke before the CIPINA Assembly about the need to increase education and awareness around type 1 diabetes. Diabetes does not define me, but it has placed me on a more complex level of the game of life. Managing insulin is difficult. You never fully rest. Diabetes is there 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and for me and for all my family. Nights are interrupted by alarms, warning of dangerous lows or highs. You learn to live with needles, blood tests, and constant decisions. If living with type 1 diabetes looks easy from outside, I invite you to pause for a moment and imagine that every time you eat, you have to stop, observe your food, calculate carbohydrates, and decide how much insulin your body will need. Knowing that even when you do everything right, your glucose can still rise or fall without warning. Living with type 1 diabetes learns carrying that level of attention every single second. Your decisions can lead to feeling well, to fading, or over time to serious complications. Because this may not be your reality, you might never fully feel what it's like, but I hope understanding this inspires more empathy, kindness, and awareness in the way we talk about this condition. There are days I feel tired, frustrated, or wish I didn't have diabetes. This is not something you choose. You learn to live with it. Like a mosquito that never leaves you alone. You learn to absorb the waves of glucose and listen closely to your body. Today, I see my story not only as a survival, but as a responsibility. I want to help educate others and raise awareness in schools in Cancun. I study French, speak English, play the piano, and reached the second stage of the Knowledge Olympiad in Quintana Roo in 2025. I am still discovering who I want to be, but I am curious about the medicine because I understand what it means to care for life. Diabetes has taught me discipline, empathy, awareness, and courage. I am different. I am accept that the difference is part of who I am. My journey is not easy, but I am here still learning, still growing, and still moving forward. Thank you very much for your attention.
Wow, Constanza, I'm gonna cry over here. Wow, I'm so proud of you. And you're 13 now?
Yeah, it's been like 4 years.
Wow, you are so impressive. I am so thankful you're here. Thank you so much for just coming on the podcast today and for sharing your story. You were so young and you are so inspirational. And I can tell that you have loving family around you. And I just want to say, like, what you have done at the age of just 13 years old is a testament to your strength and to your abilities and to the love and support around you, but also to just let everybody know that just because you've received a diagnosis, it is not the end. It's the beginning to something new. I'm excited to dive into this episode, but I want to know, like, how do you feel now that you've read the essay out loud?
Like, I feel like I'm very happy that I had the opportunity to show such a special event of my life for many, many people in the world. Like, I hope that this will help children or people with type 1 diabetes to understand that it may be difficult to live with it, but it doesn't has to be a limit for yourself.
Oh, chills. It may be difficult to live with it, but it's not a limit for yourself. That is so beautiful. You were 9 years old when your life started to change. Do you remember that moment
Yeah.
of what happened prior to that?
Well, before I went hospitalized, I started losing a lot of weight and I started being very thirsty, feeling very weak. I slept a lot of hours, but to to but everything of the hospitalization happened in a Father's Day, and my dad
Oh,
took me from school at the Father's Festival,
oh wow.
and it was like
Wow.
all 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 the kids from my school was like, "What are they taking Constanza? Why are they taking it so soon?"
Yeah.
But and then I they took me home. They made me a COVID test, and I still very 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 bad. I was like laying in my bed, and I felt like, "Geez, what is happening?" I was like, "I'm gonna die." I felt
Oh
very bad,
no.
and then my father like tells to my mom, I need to go to work, but you have to take Constanza to the hospital. This is not normal. And then my mom gets the results of the COVID test, and I was positive. So she takes me to the only hospital in Cancun that accepted people with COVID at that moment because, well, we were in the pandemic. It was kind of difficult to find a place. So they take me and they take me to urgency because it was like very critical, and they start like making me a lot of things. They put me like a lot of needles inside me. I was like, what's happening? And started to faint because I started like to close my eyes, and then I have a doctor next to me saying me, don't close your eyes, don't go to the light. And it's like, what what is happening? And then they put me like a mask, and I start to sleep like very sleepy. And when I wake up, I'm in a little tiny room with just a little window with a bunch of nurses around me, like
Oh,
managing machines. And I'm like, what happened? And then they never told me. Like, it took like 3 days that they told me, and my mom goes in and she tells me, you're finally awake. And it seems that it was like 3 days in sleep. And then they start telling me, like, you have something and we need to take out drops from you every day, and then we need to put you something called insulin. And I was like, what is this? What just drinking orange juice 1 month ago? And
yeah.
they tell me like, you're gonna be here like for 3 4 days more, and then we will put you in a huge room where your father will finally come to see you, because my mom just could go by like one time a day, once a day. So it was like I felt very alone because the nurses were like nearby, but they almost never talked to me. And
Oh,
the the kind nurses that like one even gave me his cell phone to watch Netflix. And I was
yeah.
like very happy because I was very bored.
Yeah.
And it was very cold the room because they had to manage the COVID bacteria. I don't know why, but yeah, it was very cold. And I was like, but then the after that moment, the guy of the cell phone disappeared, and he never came back. And I was like, what happened? Where's that guy? And the time passed. Like it was like the second day I was awake in that room, and it comes the pediatrician to treat me, and he like makes something, and he puts me something in my arm, and I was like, "What's that?" And he tells me it's a glucose sensor, and he just walks outside, and he's like, "What's a glucose sensor? What's that?"
Right.
And finally, every day came a nurse with a huge needle to take me my blood from me. Was like, why do you need to take so much blood? And she always told me like, it's for tests. I can't do anything for you, but you will need to. just let me put the needle in you. So bye. And she just went, bye, put the needle inside me, take out the blood, bye. And then put it in a machine over there and never knew what happened with my blood. Then they started like putting mini needles in my fingers. So to take
Yeah.
up blood, again,
Yeah.
a lot of blood. So they could like measure my glucose and a lot of things. And after like 4 days, I was like, wow, this is hell. I don't want to be here. And they finally tell me, and they finally go on, and my mom comes and they tell me, you can finally go to another room. Woohoo! And I was like, yay! So I tried to like walk to my mom and hug her, but I couldn't because my legs didn't work.
Oh, no.
Because I had been like so much time in bed that my body didn't remember how to walk. So they take me on a like wheeling chair to the other room, and it's finally like full of lights and a TV. I was like crying because I finally had a TV because I didn't have. And I've inside the room it was my dad, and I was like very happy. And my dad it was just there crying because he could finally see me, and he gives me a video game, and I was very happy. But then the nurses comes by and tells them your son has diabetes, and you have diabetes. And I was like, what's that? And then the pediatrician that I had only seen like 3 times in my life comes
Mhm.
and tells me, you have diabetes, and I'm going to give you a book about diabetes. And they give me a book, and I start reading it. And it starts like explaining everything. And I'm like, okay, this must be a dream because this is not normal. I'm normal, so this can't be me. They
Yeah.
must have confused me with another person.
Yeah.
But then they tell me, no, it's you. You have diabetes. And I'm like, and then the next day, they tell me the nurse teaches my mom and my dad how to put me a weird thingy called insulin with a huge needle, and was like, again, needles. No, needles, no more needles. And they like tried, and my mom failed, and they tried it again and again and again until my mom finally did it.
Yeah.
And the nurses go, am I alone with my dad and my mom? And they were like, we also don't understand what's happening here, but we will learn how to do it. And I also
Yeah.
was like, okay, I have to take a positivity inside this room once more. And they finally tell me, you can start walking. And so my dad like helped me to walk again. And my first steps were like, if I walk like a penguin. It was very funny because I made like little steps with my feet like on the looking to side, and it was very funny. But I finally learned how to walk again.
Yeah.
And it passed like 1 week. I was there like 1 week, and they finally told the pediatrician comes by and told my dad and my mom and everyone there like, you can finally live here. You can go eat whatever you want. And I was like, yay! Finally, I am free. So they take me to my favorite restaurant, and I was like, yay, yeah, finally, that nightmare is gone. Yeah, I finally woke up. I am normal again. But
Yeah.
then my glucose starts rising, and they need to put me again insulin. And I was at home finally. I was finally in my home, but it was so different because
Right.
I had to change my diet, change all
Yeah.
my lifestyle, like change a lot of things.
Yeah. You
And
had to learn how to live
finally
a new way.
free. Yeah.
Yep. Wow. What was the hardest adjustment on learning to live this new life?
I think that how to inject myself. because before that I hated needles. I was like that kind of kid that if saw a needle, I was like, no, no needles, no needles. But then they finally like start putting me like 5 needles a day, and I was like, okay. But I finally learned how to, and it was like it took me like 1 month, but I did it. I did it.
I'm so proud of you. For people that don't know with diabetes, how often do you have to give yourself insulin through the needle?
People without diabetes, well, when they see me like doing that, they're like, I don't know how can you do that. I will never be able to do it. And I'm like, yeah. I also thought that when I didn't have this. I also thought I will never be able to touch a needle. But I can.
Yeah,
And I had to do it 24/7. But I did it. And they're like,
yeah.
no, I can't look at you when you're like putting insulin in you because I can't see needles. I'm not like, do you look like when I was 9 years old? But that's not anymore.
Did you ever feel angry and frustrated that this was your new reality?
I'm like, it happens a lot of times more than I would want to. Like, I'm start like getting tired and I say, does this why do I have to live with this? Because, like, as I told you in my essay, like, there are a lot of supplies here in Mexico that fail. Like, they don't work. So I had
Mhm.
to put 1 and 2 and 3 needles inside me so they work. And it was in those moments I feel like, why? Like, why is this happening? Why is it service? Why is this happening to me? But then I
Yeah.
remember that it's not my fault. It's just a casualty. It's like I won the bad lottery of life, and now I had to
No,
live with
no,
it.
no.
And
Costanza,
yeah,
you did not, you didn't win the bad lottery of life. You know, it's okay to grieve the life you once thought you would have, but I believe that you won the lottery of life. And I understand that, you know, type 1 diabetes is not something that you would have wanted. But now at 13 years old, you are leading and you are advocating for so many children that are just like you and so many adults and people around the world. And for anybody to have that voice, it was you that was granted that voice. And as you know, it's okay to feel bad because I understand. You know, we can grieve those things that we once wanted and it didn't happen. But I want you to know that, like, the plan for you is so much greater, it's so much bigger. And this is just a part of your story. And it may not seem like that at moments, but at moments, I hope that the reality is that this is going to be just a part of your story and it's the greater part that needed to somehow happen and not everybody has it but it was a part of your purpose and I'm sorry that you feel that way. Like, the bad lottery life is not where we're going to go. You, my friend
yeah,
Costanza, beautiful young lady, you have won the lottery of life. It may be hard, it may be tough, but you're not alone. Okay, just know you're not alone.
yeah. And by like the first 5 months that I was like diagnosed with this, I felt like very alone because even if I had my mom and my dad around me, it wasn't the same because they didn't have to live with it and I felt very alone. But then I went to my doctor appointment and she tells me like, oh, there's a camp in here and there's a lot of children with the same condition with you and they like you will be able to talk to them and like I was like, whoa, there's children with the same thing like than me. Like there's children like me. And I was like very excited and I said, yes, put me in that camp right now. And I decided to participate and I was like I got in the like we were in the pandemic. It wasn't presential, like you couldn't be with them in the same room. It was by Zoom. like my teams, like it was like virtual, but it was like very life changing, like to see and talk to other kids that had the same thing than me. And it was like that really changed how I felt with diabetes, and it really changed it, and it made me very happy. And I learned a lot of things, but the most important thing, I learned that I wasn't alone. So that really changed how I live with it.
Absolutely. I'm so happy that that camp exists. You said that diabetes is a 24/7 thing. And like you said, you got to experience this camp and meet other children that's like it. Can you explain to us what a normal day in a life for you is like with diabetes at 13?
My day starts like I check like things to God. I have a thing that measures my blood sugar all the time. So if I hear an alarm in the night, I wake up, I watch it, and if it's low, I eat something with carbohydrates, and if it's high, I just put a little bit of insulin. That starts at night. But when I wake up, I check how I am. I go downstairs with my mom, and she is like, the breakfast is ready. So I eat my breakfast, but before that, I have to like check like how many insulin I have to put so I can my breakfast. So my daily routine starts even when I wake up. And I put the insulin, I wait like 5 minutes, and I start eating. After that, I'm like preparing myself, I put everything on, and I go to school. Like I check my glucose like every hour, and it goes lunchtime, and it happens the same. I go get my food to the cafeteria, and I have to see my food, check what it has, how many carbohydrates, like count them a little bit, and I put my insulin on. I wait 5 minutes, and then I can start eating. Like sometimes, if I've had bad luck, and I measure by the insulin. I'm go like very high blood sugar, so I have to need to put more insulin. Or if I put too much insulin, I go like low blood sugar, so I have to eat another thing so I can go into a normal level. And that also happens when I do sports and like in another situations. Even emotions can change how many. Like it can change how do you feel. Like if you're sad, maybe you will feel like your glucose will go a little lower. Or if you're angry or you're very excited, like your glucose goes more higher. So I also have to like control my emotions so they don't affect my glucose.
Wow.
And I go to yeah.
So
And then
managing
you go
diabetes,
like
sorry, I
yeah,
was going to say,
it's not just physical, it's also emotional. Because you need to control your emotions and like release them so you can continue your day without having more highs or lows because of it.
wow, you took the words right out of my mouth. It's not just physical, it is emotional. It's not about just what you eat, it's how you eat it and how you control yourself, your mental health. And you mentioned something that it doesn't matter if you're doing your sports or not. You mentioned that you figure skate and you practice karate and play tennis and you compete. When you do those type of activities in sports, how does your diabetes affect that?
Normally I, as always, I have to check my glucose because before I go and do the sport. If I have a good level of glucose, I just go on and play it and like be a little hinted of my glucose. If I'm too high, I need to put a little bit of insulin, not so much because it could make me go low into low glucose. So it
Right.
could affect like how I like it could affect me and I could able things or it could happen a lot of things. If I'm too low or I'm a little bit too low, not so much, I eat a little thing like a little bit of carbohydrates so I can like make the sport and like I check. like every 15 minutes how I'm going. So I can see if I have to eat a little thing, I have to eat something, I have to put a little bit of insulin, or if I'm okay, I continue on like just do the sport like anyone else.
Yeah, I'm so proud of you. What made you decide that diabetes wasn't going to stop you from doing the things that you wanted to do?
Like I found out that I really had to go to therapy, of course, so I can like go through these, but I also learned that in these camps or even seeing important people that also have diabetes do such a huge things in life. And I found out like this doesn't
Mhm.
has to stop me. It can even make me grow bigger than I thought I could before. So like
Oh,
having type 1 diabetes made me see life in another point of view because it made me more resilient and it made me see things different than normal people, even what you eat, like how you manage your emotions, how you do sport, and a lot more of things because it's like my life was in my hands all the time. So I learned
yeah.
about it and it made me feel like maybe this ability that I have gained with this thing could make me be something bigger. So, like, my school has some things that I started participating on, like all of the child deputy for one day and the Olympiads, knowledge Olympiads, and I started participating on all those things. And I found out like
Yes,
this doesn't affect how I am, who I am. It did change it, but maybe in a good way. So, like, it made me
it did.
like be more conscious of who I am and what I want to be and what I want to share with other people. And that's how I found out that
That's
it
so
doesn't have to be a limit for me.
That's so beautiful. Wow. You celebrate your joy and your strength through all of this. I think that it not only can teach so many young people, but also adults that whatever diagnosis or ability, disability that you have, that is a strength and that you still harness it and remind yourself of all of the other amazing strengths that you have. You've spoken publicly about access to diabetes supplies and using your voice on how your one day of deputy service and really being a leader at your young age. What made you want to speak up? What made you want to be a leader?
Like, again, like these camps and even where my mom like go inside like groups of other mothers and parents with childs with type 1 diabetes. So like got inside communities. And me in the camps,
Mhm.
I found out that there were a lot of children that didn't have like the same privilege that I have, like to have the insulin pump or the continuous glucose sensor that really changes your way to manage, and that they were even kids with not such a good economic situation that they couldn't afford that. So they even have to reuse things that shouldn't be reusable or don't eat them, like to don't eat so much carbohydrates because the insulin was too expensive for them. And I found out like this shouldn't be like this. Life shouldn't be a privilege for kids or even for adults. It shouldn't be a privilege to be healthy. Like I found out like people
Mhm.
should have the privilege to live like any other one. Like it shouldn't be just for a little bit of people. So I started like that's another thing that pushed me to get inside of all these things that had my school to like raise my voice. And I found out that if not such a lot of people is doing and raising the boys for type 1 diabetes. Well, I have to do it. I have to do something. And if I can, I will do it. And that's another thing that pushed me up to do this.
Constanza, you are amazing. Can you be our next president, please? Like, wow. You said if no one's going to raise their voice, I will raise my voice. And you did just that. You didn't just survive. You didn't just get diagnosed. You didn't just live with type 1 diabetes. You decided to step into philanthropy and advocate for those that didn't have as many resources as you stated. You decided to just stand up for something. You decided to say like, no, this is an issue and this is a problem and everyone deserves the same fair, equal medical access to the same things that I have. And I think that that is so beautiful and is so truly humbling and honorable for you to do that at such a young age. And I just want to applaud you for that. And I'm so happy that your parents got you involved in these camps and was able to let you know that you're not alone. I think what you're saying is truly humbling and is truly inspiring. I want to wrap this up and just ask you because I know there is a young person and even some adults that are listening to this today, and they probably want to know that with everything you're doing on the hard days, what keeps you going?
Like in the hard days, like there's a lot of hard days. A lot. Like there's so much moments in which I like don't know if I want to keep going like this, if I really have a purpose for keep going in my life. But then my mom or my dad comes by and they tell me like, you have too much things left to do in your life. Like, don't lose it for just a little, for a small bad moment. And even if that moment for me is like very huge, like a huge mountain, like that I had to come through, I remember that I still have a lot of things to do, and there's a lot of things I can do, like talking to other people with type 1 diabetes, like making people conscious about it, or even learning more about it. Like, and I just like remember this is not the moment to give up. I still have a lot of things to do. Like, and I have to keep going. There's a lot of things that I left to do, and I have to do it because I think that it's my purpose in life, like to help, learn, make people conscious, teach about type 1 diabetes because there's not a lot of things about it, so someone has to do it again.
So thankful that you have such beautiful parents that are around you that are feeding it to you. And if you've ever for a moment doubted that you don't have a purpose left because of type 1 diabetes, I want to reassure you that you have inspired me today, that you are going to. This episode is going to inspire so many people to not give up, to not let their diagnosis be the last say so, and to remind themselves that they still do have purpose within them. Like, even on the hard days, I want you to know that, like a seed that is planted among dark soil that does not see the light at that moment, as it gets watered and watered and watered, it becomes a fruitful tree. And that fruitful tree feeds so many people. And that fruitful tree has a seed inside of that then gets planted inside of another soil that grows into another fruitful tree. And what you're doing, my friend, you are literally planting seeds inside of people of letting them know that type 1 diabetes is not the last say so, that at 13 years old, you can do this, and that at 50, they can do that. At 75, they can do that. At 21, they can still go no matter what. So remind yourself and let yourself know that you have so much purpose and you are doing an incredible job. And if you ever need a big sis over here to remind you, you make sure you call Auntie Carrie, Tia Carrie over here, okay? Because I am so proud of you. And some young person or some older person is going to listen to this and be so inspired by you. I just want to say thank you so much for your courage, for your discipline, for your heart. It's truly inspiring. And I want to leave you with the opportunity for any ways that we can support you or any efforts that you're making. Is there any last words that you would like to leave our guests with today?
I think that I would like to say to everyone that is hearing this podcast that even when you feel like you're inside a dark, dark place that there's no way you can go through it, there's always going to be there's always going to be like a little light, a little hope inside of that dark place that will make you go through it. Like, don't give up. Even if everything in that moment feels like very dark, like there's no way you can go through it. Like you feel like there's no way I can go through it. There's a way. There's always a way. Don't give up. Like, and remember that there are millions of people in the world, and there's probably at least one person that is going through the same as you. And remember, you're not alone. You have family, you have friends, you have people around you that loves you and wants you to keep going because they want you in their lives and they just have a lot of things to do. Like, don't give up. Just don't give up.
Costanza, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for trusting us with sharing your story today. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for your heart and your care. Thank you for showing us that it does not have to be perfect. You just have to continue to show up. Everyone that's listening today, you have been listening to the Resilience Pals podcast with our lovely guest, Constanza. If this episode inspired you today, I would love for you to please share it with a friend and tell a friend to tell a friend that no matter what you're going through in life, continue to show up. And if Costanza can do it, you can do it. And y'all watch out for presidential elections because Costanza may be president of Mexico one day. We don't know. But all I know is she's going to do some amazing, fascinating things and she's going to continue to change the world.